Hey everybody, David Burns here with you, EAS Certified Master Beekeeper. Good to be with you for another beekeeping video. Today I'm going to be talking about getting your bees ready for winter. This is sort of like part 2 to my previous video, the one just before this one that I made about winter prep for your bees. So many of you love that one. That was a good one on YouTube. And so this one will probably follow in its footsteps. I'm sure you'll enjoy what we talk about today. We're going to talk about 3 things that is certain to kill your bees in the winter if you fail to do something about it. 3 things. And pretty simple, right? So we'll get in that in a minute. Roy and Marcy came by and brought me a coffee mug. Now look at this, all the way from their visit to Alaska, the state of Alaska. I haven't poured my coffee in it yet. Of course, it's got a moose on it, right? See the beautiful moose there? I mean, it's textured. You can feel the moose. And it says, "I moose have my coffee." I love it. That's fun. So we'll have coffee time at the end of this video too, where I will be sharing with you how to surround yourself with the people that will help you achieve your life's dreams and goals. That'd be a good coffee time. Things have been really busy here at Long Lane Honeybee Farms. I really want to thank all of you for purchasing our winter bee kinds. They are for sale now. It's a winter feeding system, and also you're buying the Burns feeding system to help your bees get ready for winter. Appreciate all the support in our business. That's really great. And well, as you can see, it's starting to get a little cooler. I wore long sleeves today. It's a little cool this morning outdoors, and this shirt is perfect for it. Even has a hoodie on it. I can put my hat on if it gets really cold. But we're noticing things are starting to turn. The leaves are falling, and the crops are kind of turning a little yellow. And here in central Illinois, it won't be long before fall will be here. My bees, for the most part, have given up foraging. I mean, they go out a little bit. There's still some stuff out, but goldenrod is starting to present itself a little bit. But boy, don't ever trust goldenrod. You need to feed your bees. So these fall crops that come up, a lot of you get excited because you say, "Oh, I see my bees bringing pollen in, and it's still going really good. They must be okay. They're bringing all this pollen in, so we must still have a nectar flow." You know, I've done a lot of studies on that, and you can do your own study, but a lot of the things that they're going out for and getting, they're consuming as quickly as they bring them in. Fall crops, the few crops that most places in the United States that have a fall crop, like goldenrod, asters, do not compare at all to what we experience in the spring and in the summer. So even though you may see some stuff going around, bringing pollen and stuff like that, it really doesn't at all help your bees store up for winter. So that's why it's important that we step in as beekeepers and do what we can to help our bees prepare for winter. Today I want to talk to you about 3 things that can cause your bees to die during the winter. I mean, these are important things to think about and get ready for. Let's just get right into it then. Number 1, we talked a little bit about it last week, and that's about feeding your bees. I am shocked at the number of people who still are confused and don't understand about feeding your bees. I've got to have coffee. I'm gonna have coffee time later, but I can't have this wonderful smell of coffee right in front of me and not enjoy it. But anyway, like I was saying, you got to feed your bees. Now, the old paradigm tells us to feed our bees 2 to 1, 2 part sugar, 1 part water in the fall. And the reason that most people still pass along that information is that came out of an era where we were trying to get our bees to build up stored honey to overwinter. Maybe they didn't have enough honey on board, and so what they did, they fed their bees 2 to 1, and because it's more syrupy, much more syrupier, then it allows the bees a chance to dry it down faster and make it honey. It's technically not honey because it's not from a floral source like flowers. It's just from you feeding them sugar water. So it's really, really not, you know, raw natural honey that comes from flowers. But nonetheless, that's what the old paradigm is. I don't support 2-to-1 in the fall. And the reason I don't is it's a twofold reason. Number one, I don't believe it helps bees raise bees of winter physiology. In other words, 2-to-1 simply helps them store it for winter. But 1-to-1 does stimulate the queen and the nurse bees to continue to raise a fair amount of bees because it simulates a nectar flow as we have in the spring. And so it allows the bees to start building up brood, and that brood is bees of winter physiology. I told you about that in my last video. Be sure and watch it. But bees of winter physiology, they live about 4 to 6 months. And the bees that you're looking at now in your hives, most of them are only going to live about 45 days. So don't make the mistake of looking at your bees and say, oh my gosh, I got all these bees. This hive is so full of bees, they're going to make it through the winter just fine. Nah, those bees will be dead in 45 days. It's the new brood coming up. So you need to be making sure you have a good laying queen, a lot of brood coming up, and that's got to be in the form of eggs, larvae, or capped over pupae, and that is your future. And that's going to be the bees. So now that we're into September, I have to raise a lot of bees during September, October, November, because those will be the bees of winter physiology. Got to get this in your head. Stop listening to the wrong information. You know, it makes sense. Do you want winter bees? Bees that live 4 to 6 months? Of course you do. How are you going to get them? You got to give your bees a lot of nutrition. And you got to allow them the opportunity to make a lot of royal jelly to feed the larvae. You got to give them that food. You got to give them protein, amino B booster, honeybee healthy. You know, you got to give them all of that nutrients that they need, just like it's spring. Now, I got my sugar water ready. We've mixed it up and it looks good. Just place it right there for the bees to enjoy. That's one jar there. And the holes are working good in the second jar here. The way this works is that the sugar water is actually sort of in a vacuum lock based on the fluid and the little hose at the bottom. There's not much air here, so the fluid can't run out. It just kind of bubbles on the holes in the lid. Now, if you don't have an extra box to put on here, because we don't want to leave it like this in the weather, we have to put a shell around it. If you use a pint jar or smaller, you can actually use your honey super box to go here. Or if you have extra equipment like I do, certainly you put a deep on here, and now you can put large jars down in here. So that's the first and foremost, I think, the most important thing. I really do. I think poor nutrition is probably, I don't know if it's worse than mites, the virus that are spread by mites, but oh my gosh, it's a close tie. I mean, if you have a mite-free hive and it has no viruses, and they have poor nutrition, they're still going to die, right? So that's one thing to think about. You just can't kill the mites and wonder why your hive died because they starved to death in the wintertime, or they didn't have the right nutrition. Remember, bees can't live just on sugar alone. They have to have that protein and minerals. Very important. They're a single organism. All right, so that's the first thing I want you to do is go crazy feeding your bees. Some people say, can we feed them too much? I don't think so. I've never fed my bees too much. I mean, I really haven't. Well, maybe they'll run out of room to lay. Maybe, but no, they'll work it all out. They'll take the food. They'll work it out. You give them the space that they need and the food that they need, they will really do well. That's what they do. So we have to give them what they need. All right, the second thing is mite control. Now, the viral mite does spread viruses, and so if you've been ignoring your mites, you might either get lucky and have a very, very low mite count, and therefore a very, very low virus load in the hive, or you may get unlucky and have an enormous amount of mites and all your bees are infected with viruses, 15 to 20 different viruses. We know about viruses, don't we? Now that the pandemic is affecting us in America, we understand what a virus can do. And it's the same way in a colony. It destroys the colony. Bees feed each other mouth to mouth. They produce royal jelly from their head glands that's infected with a virus. That royal jelly is contaminated with the virus and is fed to larvae. Those larvae develop into adults with a virus, and sometimes they don't live but half their life span. They die before they forage. Boom! So you got to do something to control your mites. I don't advocate doing something twice a year. I've said this so many times. If you only treat your bees twice a year for mites, once in the spring, once in the fall, that's the old paradigm. But during the time in between spring and fall, the viruses are really taking their toll on those bees. And so I advocate keeping your mite levels low all year long with green drone comb, trapping the mites in drone brood, and then freezing it and killing those mites. And I advocate a screen bottom board that helps a little bit on mites falling through the screen. And the next way to really help control mites is by isolating your queen and breaking her brood cycle. So all you got to do is find the queen. There she is. I'm just going to gently make sure the bees are out of the way, and then I'm going to push this down. Now the neat thing about this is I've actually captured the queen in here, and see, all these bees can get out. There, you can see them climbing out through this kind of the thickness of queen excluder material, but the queen can't make it out. She's still in there. So while she's in there, she can lay eggs here, but she can't lay eggs anywhere else. So this push-in queen cage, you know, we sell these, really nice ones. It allows us to keep her in there for about 5 days, 7 days. And then that way, if you do the math, if you have her in there for 7 days and she lays 1,000 eggs a day, that's 7,000 eggs that aren't laid. There's 2 mites that develop on essentially every potential pupa. And so that would be 14,000 mites you're preventing over the course of a week. Of course, powdered sugar dusting, that does help a little bit as well. Taking a cup of sugar, let it fall between the frames of your deep brood boxes, and the mites kind of lose their grip. The bees clean each other and the mites are dropped out. If all else fails, then you have to resort to all the other chemicals that chemical companies sell and bee companies sell. We don't sell those here. We never have sold chemicals, actually, because we really do advocate more IPM, integrated pest management. IPM does include using chemicals as kind of the last resort, but I have had no trouble at all controlling my mites before I have to step in and use chemicals. But you do have to use chemicals if you have just been hands off and your mites are exploding. I don't think that's a bad thing to do. I'm not against that at all. I would very quickly use Formic Pro, for example, or if you're not a oxalic acid guy or gal, you know, use that. Oxalic acid doesn't kill below the caps. Formic Pro, for example, does kill mites below the caps. So for me, I would always go for, you know, the one that would kill below the caps. But if you have to resort to that, you should. But as far as you know, not doing anything except treating them with the chemical and acid twice a year, that's not a good approach either. You just can't go 8 months of spreading viruses and then try to kill the mites ready for winter. They'll carry even though the mites are dead, by your killing them maybe in the fall, the viruses are very much alive. And the viruses don't die with that generation, because that generation is feeding the next generation. And those viruses are spread. So you've got to stay on top of the viruses all year long so that when you get into winter, your bees are carrying a very, very low, if any, of a virus load. Does that make This makes so much sense. I'm going crazy that I will say this, I make videos and people still don't get it. They're making it harder than it is. Look, feed your bees. Bees that are have good nutrition are healthy bees. Bees that don't have viruses are healthy bees. It's I'm going crazy here. It's so simple, okay? But you have to do something. You have to feed them to make them have proper nutrition, and you have to control the mites to cut down on the virus load. Boom! Now you got healthy bees all at once. It's so cool, isn't it? Finally, the third thing is that we need a lot of bees. We need strong populations of bees. In my online winter class, I have a whole hours and hours worth of material in my Getting Your Bees Through the Winter class, where we go into this in much more detail. But I show you that scientific studies show that you need 40,000 bees to make it through a very cold winter. And I live in central Illinois, and we have very cold winters. So depending on where you live, that can vary, but you're going to need 40,000 bees to make it through winter, because bees don't hibernate. They stay functioning. They live in a cluster, stay close to each other, and stay warm to keep themselves alive during the winter. So 40,000 will get them enough bodies to make enough heat so they don't freeze to death. Now, if you think about 40,000 bees, that equals 4 packages of bees. So if you purchase 4 packages, most of you know what a package looks like. So that'd be 10,000 bees times 4, 40,000. That's 4 packages of bees. You need that many bees. Do you realize that the bees you're looking at now are all going to be dead? So if your queen is failing, that's really where you're going to suffer in populations. Number one issue that people have. They come out of winter, they show me a picture of their hive, they've got a little baseball-sized cluster, and they say, what happened? Can you tell by this cluster, why did my bees die in the winter? There's honey in there, and here's the bees in a baseball-sized cluster. Why did they die? Whoa! A baseball-sized cluster? Even a softball won't make it. Wow! Even a volleyball-sized cluster probably won't make it. That's why they died. There wasn't enough bees to make enough heat to withstand a freezing night temperature. You need a big cluster of bees inside your hive to keep themselves warm. And so that means you need 40,000 bees. You have to make 40,000 bees now. Winter bees, not bees that are going to die in 40 days. Winter bees that live 4 to 6 months. You need population. You need heavy population. Please hear me again. I'm going to repeat this. You're going to go in your hive now in September and go, well, there's a lot of bees in there. I think I got 40,000. You got 40,000 summer bees. They're going to be dead by Christmas. I hate to pop your bubble. They're going to be dead by Christmas before it gets to be winter. So you've got to do something now to plot a plan to raise a lot of brood in the months of September, October, and November. Now, you're not going to be able to inspect that always, because you don't want to open up a hive unless it's at least 60 degrees. You really don't want to open up a hive if it's never going to get warm again, because you'll break the propolis seal. But if you keep a block on there to kind of hold it together, that's fine if you have to break that seal. Please hear me. You've got to have a lot of population. Now, with our winter bee kinds, feeding our bees all winter, we force them to continue to raise brood all winter. And since bees live 4 to 6 months, the bees that my colonies are raising off of my food from the winter bee kinds, they're not dying. They don't die every 30 days. My strongest numbers are in the winter, because I'm forcing my colonies by feeding them protein, the material that's in the winter bee kind. I'm forcing them to raise a lot of brood in the winter time. There are some colonies that I've ran the thermal camera on that are so populated here in my colonies in Illinois from those winter bee kinds, they don't cluster. There's so many in there, They're making so much heat, they don't have to form a tight ball cluster. Phenomenal. It's a no-brainer. Wow. If it's cold, turn the heat up. Put more bees in there that makes heat. Man, this is simple. I don't know what to say. People are stuck in an old paradigm, old information that is very, very misleading. Okay, try to do it some other way. Try to do it the old paradigm way, but don't send me a picture of a softball-sized cluster and wonder why they died with honey beside them. You've got to have big population. All right, so let's summarize this again on 3 things that will certainly lead to your colony failing in the winter by not feeding them in the fall. You've got to feed the bees in the fall, or else they're going to stop raising brood. They're going to stop having enough protein in the hives. That feed needs to be 1-to-1 with protein in it. Protein with amino bee booster, honeybee healthy, that 3 combination, the sugar water, the protein powder, honeybee healthy, and amino bee booster, wow, transforms the health of your bees with proper nutrition. So you got to feed them now. Now, if you start thinking they're drinking a quart a day, that's too much. Keep feeding them. Feed them until they won't eat it anymore. Feed them until it gets to the daytime temperature doesn't reach 50 anymore. They don't really drink much liquid after 50, and they need to take potty breaks when they drink liquid. Once it gets 50, once it doesn't reach 50 anymore during the daytime Fahrenheit temperature, then they're going to start clustering at 50. That's when you want to put the winter bee kind board on, so the top of the cluster will bring the food down into the cluster. I've got videos of bees going up to the winter bee kind in 0-degree temperatures and dropping it down into the cluster to feed the cluster. So it's phenomenal. So you got to feed your bees. The second thing, control your mites. Okay, so maybe you've been lazy and you didn't do anything for mites all year. Do something now. It's better than nothing. Just remember, if you didn't do anything all year, then you were spreading viruses that continue to get passed to generation. You're taking the viruses into winter. There's not much you can do now. That should have been controlled earlier in the year. But let's do something now. We can, start killing mites now. That will help a little bit. Let's try to kill as many mites as we can. Control your mites. Again, I prefer to use the methods of a screen bottom board, green drone comb, powdered sugar dusting, and breaking the queen's brood cycle with the push-in queen cage for 7 days. And I do that once in September and I do it once in August, once in September, once in October. And if I have to even go further out, like if you live in a colder climate, do it once in July, August, and September. So what you want to do is you want to do it 3 times. You want to do it 3 months. And so pick the last month that you can get into the hive wherever you live. So I can usually get in there one more time in October. So for me, I do it in August, September, October. Trap the queen. But certainly it doesn't hurt to start in July. Just say July, August, September. And push in queen cage, 7 days, let her out. That's a great way to control mites. And if those fail and don't really keep them under control, and I usually think control is about 3 or less mites per 100 bees. If it goes higher than that, you can certainly go to chemicals like acids at that time. And then the third thing is population. Make sure you have bees of outstanding population. Many of you ask me, how do I know what 40,000 bees look like? You really don't. And you're not going to see them anyway because you're going to be raising them as brood in brood cells. So the best way to do it is look at a frame and figure that a deep frame, has 7,000 cells, 3,500 on each side. So if you can look at your hive as late as possible on your last fall inspection, count the brood on those frames. Okay? Let's say that you saw 6 frames that were full of either eggs, larvae, or capped over brood. 6 frames. 6 times 7, well, let's round it off to 7,000. So now you've got 42,000 bees in your future, right? That makes sense to you? Count the brood on a frame, and that's 7,000 in those cells on one frame. If you have 6 frames of future brood, that's 42,000. So you need at least to see 6 or more frames of brood on your last inspection. That's when you know those bees are bees of winter physiology. They're going to come out and be very healthy and make heat all the way through April. Wow, it's crazy. The big thing about controlling the virus, by the way, is that you want your bees of winter physiology to be virus-free. You want them to be healthy so they don't die half their life. If you don't control your mites, but you still raise bees of winter physiology, and let's go with an average of that a bee of winter physiology lives 5 months, and let's say she's raised in November, December, January, February, March. So she would carry the hive all the way until late March. Well, if she has a virus, she'll live 2.5 months. November, December, she'll be dead by the middle of January. See how the virus will destroy your colony in the winter? Okay. Good stuff today. Wow. I hope you can grasp this. Listen to this video again. Back up. Hear what I'm saying. A new paradigm in keeping bees with the challenges that we have today. All right. Very good. Let's do coffee time. All right. Now it's time for coffee time. Wow. In my new Moose coffee mug. I must have coffee. Hey, today I want to talk to you about putting yourself around people that can help you become what you feel that you want to become. That's so important. Oh, wow. This coffee that I'm drinking today is Mexico. It's from Mexico. And while I love all coffee, it is not my favorite. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong. It may be some people's most favorite coffee, but it is not as good as what I probably enjoy the most is Ethiopian coffee from Ethiopia. Gurgachev's and things like that. Costa Rica coffee is good. But anyway, I'm enjoying it. I wanted to sample it and see what I thought. It has, I would say the best way to describe the coffee that I'm drinking today, it has more of a singular flavor. When I drink it, I feel like there's just one solid flavor. And some of the other coffees that I enjoy the most, when I drink it, I can taste a lot of different variances or influences of one flavor. So it's like, ooh, that has and I would call that a rich flavor. I can taste a little bit of something this way and that way. And I like that feel of multi flavors to a coffee. But it's still very, very good. And I'm enjoying it. I didn't realize I guess I should have known that. I didn't realize they made coffee in Mexico, but of course the climate is right for that. I've been to Dominican Republic, and I've seen and watched the coffee beans being harvested there. That's amazing. And I've actually had coffee, and let's see, how am I going to say this? Once I was in Israel, and I was way out in the desert, and I don't know anymore the details, but it was Jordanian desert. I don't remember, but I was way out in the middle of the desert somewhere, and I don't remember the people that we were with at the time that lived in tents. They made coffee for us, and so it was so enjoyable. I did not have coffee experience then, but I was watching them make the coffee, and they literally, one guy was on an open fire, of course, and he was roasting the beans over an open fire with a pan. Just the beans were flying up and smoke was going everywhere. And then he ground up the coffee beans to make coffee grinds, coffee grounds, and then he boiled them in water and served us coffee. Wow. Out in the middle of nowhere, That was awesome. That was so cool. So that the different parts of the world have so many different views of coffee. It'd be So cool to visit all the different places that make coffee. High altitude mountain coffee, you know, it'd just be cool. And I really appreciate the effort that many coffee companies are making to be fair about how they support and pay people that are in these different countries that are making these beans. I think that's very important, that American companies really go out of their way to treat these families, these farmers in other countries very well, and the hard work that they do. Yeah, very good. All right, so today I want to talk to you about how to choose the right people to hang out with. The people that you hang out with have a large influence over your life. Yeah, I guess that's how parenting works. Parents want to raise their children to become like them. I don't know if that's, I understand that. Yeah, I totally get that you want to raise your children to be like you, have your beliefs, your morals, and your opinions and all. But I really believe, I personally tried to raise my children to have their own opinions, their own beliefs, their own independence, and they do. Of course, I impressed upon them what was dear to me and was hoping they would embrace that. But I wanted them to become their own people as a dad. And so, but if you're a young person, you're very influenced by people around you. I know when I was young, I was influenced by my buddies at school, kind of did what they did, you know. But then I would get connected with my coach or something like that. I was impressed with him, and I'd kind of take on some of his things that he was teaching me. And so you look to others to be influenced and become something. You know, that's why young people today really get enamored with musicians, rap singers, for example, country and western singers. That's why young people get all crazy about sports heroes and actors, you know, actresses, and they kind of make them their role model. And so they're influenced by that. Well, what you want to do and be, it's always good if you can go beyond that. Like sometimes if you just have a role model that's someone you'll never really see except on a TV show or hear them sing a song, they can't really help you achieve what you want to achieve. So you got to be able to say, what do I want to achieve in life? What do I want to do and become and be or overcome? And then who are people that have gone on before me and have success in that area? And then somehow you just need to push your way into their life. I am so good at that. I'm so good. Now, I've had some people slam the door on me. Don't get me wrong. But other people have welcomed me and have helped me a lot and have embraced the idea that I want to learn from them. A lot of people, if not most people, really do want to help other people. They really do want to help other people succeed. You know, as a people, we're all so connected. Think of what it would be like if we were so connected and we weren't so divided and selfish as we sometimes are. And so we made it our life goal to help everybody around us because we viewed everybody else as part of us. And so everybody knew that I'm going to try this idea or I'm going to try to pursue this business. But we knew that everybody was backing us, that we had cheerleaders, that we had everybody else that were going to support us if we failed. We had people that had more money than us that would help us get out of our failure and all that. We wouldn't have to go it alone so much. That's kind of an extreme one end of the pendulum. But somewhere in the middle there, that's what we need. We need to be around people that will help us. People who can give us ideas. I have a lot of people in my life that are better than me at the things that I want to pursue. And so I watch them, I talk on the phone with them, I meet with them, we talk about it, we go over ideas, concepts or whatever, and I learn from them. I've literally spent 2 years with an outstanding philosopher and did nothing but soak up everything that he had to say. And I just basically kept my mouth shut for 2 years and listened to him. I didn't argue with him when he said things that I disagreed with. I didn't challenge him when he said something that I didn't appreciate or like. Sometimes he would give me concepts and ideas or ways that I needed to change my life, and I didn't like that. But I didn't say anything. I just kind of swallowed the pill, you know. But it was amazing how he opened my eyes up to the world just by spending so much time talking philosophy and listening to him. So you have to be an open-minded person. If you want to go out and find people that can help you, you have to be open-minded in the first place. And that's the hard part. So many times we're closed-minded. I know what my opinion is. You know, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. We just can't stand it sometimes when other people give us advice that's right and we're proven wrong. But if you have an open mind and you're willing to embrace the idea that people around you might be people you can tap into that can help you, gosh, that's powerful. I'm telling you, that is really powerful. How do you find these people? Well, first you got to decide what is it that you want to know. And then you've got to find a way to get to know them. And find a way that you can really work your way into their life. Now, some people in some areas of my life that I'm involved in other things, in some areas, these people are of a higher level, such a higher level than I am, that I'm not going to be able to become their friends. They don't live near me, but they have the information I need. At that point, it's easy to do. I call them up or I email them and say, do you offer training? Do you offer classes? And then they say, yeah, I do. I have so many people I've gone to and taken one-on-one classes from. Now, I paid dearly for it, but that's my interest and I wanted to get better. So I said, how much is it? I paid the money. Got an airline ticket, flew, we met, we trained together. And I was willing to do that. And that made me better at that particular thing. And so sometimes you have to put a few dollars toward what you want to be better at. You're always going to put your money, you know, I've always said that you'll find what people are interested in by looking at their schedule and their checkbook. Where you spend your money and where you spend your time is really what you're interested in for the most part. And so, you know, if you're willing to put time and money behind something, you do have an interest in it. And if you accept the training in that area, you will become better. Now, that's the model that we use, let's say, in the medical industry. If you want to become a doctor, you have to pay to take the training. And you have to pay to learn and get better at it. And you intern with people that are better than you. And you follow them around and you watch and you listen and you observe. The internship is a very important part of the medical industry. And that's part of the schooling that you just have to do to get better. You have to surround yourself with people that are better than you and have an open mind to learn from them. So if you want to be a better piano player, find somebody that plays the piano better than you do. Take lessons from them or get to be their friends and hang out with them and help them teach you things. But if you're hanging out with people that are just as bad at something as you are, if you get better, it's gonna take a long time. If you're trying to overcome some personal emotional problems, let's say you're a real depressed person or you have a lot of anxiety and you're tense and depressed and sad all the time, probably not going to be good for you to be around other depressed, sad people filled with anxiety, if you know what I mean. Find somebody that's really energetic and who has got a positive outlook on life and start spending time with them. And when you're spending time with them, don't get caught up in telling them all of your problems. Instead, ask them questions. How can you see your problems and not let it bother you? What steps do you take not to let the world cave in around you? And listen to what they have to say. See if you can implement those things in your life. Now, I'm going to close with this. The other day, recently I've been telling people, if I could write down right now everything that I want to be in life, my wildest dreams, imagination, everything that I thought I'd ever want to become, ever want to do, all the countries I'd ever want to go to or see, if I wrote all this down, they would fall short of where I'm at. Now, everybody that I've told that to, they're like, whoa, that's really good for you. And one person said, well, you don't have very big ambitions. Well, if they could see my resume, they would know I have had big ambitions. Wow. You know, I've done a lot of stuff. Now, I've thought about what enables me to say that, because that's a pretty, big statement, that everything that I ever wanted to do or become or be or succeed at falls short of actually what I'm doing or what I've become. And I think it boils down to perspective, that my perspective has changed. I live in a farmhouse that was built in 1876. Now, is every wall perfectly straight? Nope. Is it free of problems that houses built that long ago present from day to day? Nope, it's not. But I love it. It's awesome. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Would I like a new house somewhere? Of course. I'm not an idiot. I am human, Would I like a house that, didn't have some drafts in it or things that need repaired or fixed? Of course I would. But in perspective, I've learned to love my home. I love the way it is. It's patinaed. It's an old house that's patinaed. So it's perspective. What is your perspective, and how do you improve your perspective? How do you learn to be content with what you have? That's really good when you can achieve a point in your life. Not that you give up wanting something to improve yourself, but you're content with the things you cannot change. Why not be content with those? And do not become content with the things that you can change. I wouldn't become discontented, but I would be motivated to improve them, for sure. All right, good stuff, huh? All right. Hey, by the way, in my ham radio, I've been talking to more and more people, and so many of you have told me you're into ham radios too. I need to make contact with Alaska. Are you in Alaska? We need to get a QSO. That's when two ham radio people talk. I need to talk to Alaska. I'm trying to talk to all 50 states. And I'm trying to talk to all continents. I've reached, I think I need 2 more continents, but I need several more states still. So Alaska, let me know if you live in Alaska and you have a ham radio, because we need to talk. All right, people, good to see you. Good to be back with another video. Sorry it took me a little while to get back, but heavy schedule. Hey, by the way, I enjoyed talking. I enjoyed talking the other day, making a presentation to a group in Chicago via Zoom. Now, I've done that a few times through the pandemic, but that was a hoot. I had such a good time. I spoke about 45 minutes, and then we had about a 15-minute question time after that. That was so enjoyable. And I'm willing to do that. I spoke a lot before the virus hit, early part of the year, traveling around the country, speaking on bees, different conferences and all. But I'm not doing that now, of course. But if your club or some of your people want to set up a conference, if you want to have a club where you guys have a Zoom event and we talk about preparing your bees for winter or something, I'd be glad to do that. You're not going to be able to reach me. You have to call my staff and tell them what you're wanting and what date, see if I'm available, and they'll work out the details of that, and we can get together and have a Zoom event, and I'll share. And so that'd be very helpful. I do charge something for that, so don't think it's just I can do it for free, but I do charge for my time. But call the staff, call my office, and they'll work out the details if you want to do that. That was a lot of fun that I did that last week. All right, I'll see you next time. Subscribe, click on the bell, be good, take care, feed your bees, build up your populations, control your mites, and your bees will make it through the winter.